All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling what might just be the most critical paradox in modern tech. It's this challenge facing leaders in, the GxP regulated industries, pharma, medtech, biotech, where patient safety is just absolutely paramount. We're looking at a world that's fundamentally split, really. On one side, you've got the breakneck speed of Silicon Valley innovation. Our sources are highlighting that in just the last couple of years, frontier model releases, they've increased over, get this, 5.5 times, 5.6x. And the compute cost for those huge GPT class systems, it's plummeted by a staggering, really staggering, 280 times. That pace of change is almost unbelievable. But then, bam, you hit the regulatory wall. So the core conflict is crystal clear. How do you move as fast as Silicon Valley yet validate everything as rigorously as, say, the FDA demands?
It really is the ultimate high-wire act. And that's precisely why we have to frame this differently. It's not just a tech upgrade. No, it's a complete compliance transformation. You simply cannot adopt AI successfully in GxP if validation is treated like some kind of afterthought, the future. It belongs to leaders who figure out how to embed compliance right into the innovation pipeline from day one. And that's exactly what this GxP AI leadership framework is built for. We call it A4C. That stands for Align, Activate, Amplify, Accelerate, Comply. So our mission in this deep dive is really to unpack how this 5-step structure gives you that continuous validation, that risk-based oversight you absolutely need to bridge the gap. Speed and rigor.
Yeah, speed and rigor. But before we jump into the A4C solution, we really have to grasp the scale of the problem here. Our sources. They reveal a statistic that should frankly keep every executive up at night. Over 60%. 60% of AI initiatives in life sciences stall. They stall before they even get close to the critical validation phase. They just die in pilot purgatory.
60% failure before you even get near the finish line, it's crushing. And even for the ones that do make it through, fewer than 15% actually have live automated audit traceability. This isn't just a technology issue, it's a massive operational risk, a safety risk, potentially.
It really proves the point, doesn't it? That the old way, the sort of waterfall method developed first, then try and bolt on validation later, it just completely falls apart with machine learning.
Exactly. GxP AI leadership is so critical now because patient safety, product quality, they depend entirely on systems that are verifiable throughout their entire life cycle. If you don't lead with a framework like this, your AI adoption efforts, they'll drift away from evidence-driven operations. They'll get stuck as just interesting experiments.
And the regulators aren't standing still, are they? They're defining the battlefield as we speak, which just underscores the urgency. Look at the FDA's AML action plan. It clearly emphasizes lifecycle monitoring. That fundamentally changes traditional GxP ops.
Oh, absolutely. That's hugely significant because traditionally GxP systems were validated once, right? And then they were relatively static. AI models, though, by their very nature, they learn, they drift, they evolve. So lifecycle monitoring means the regulators expect you to constantly watch your model for bias, for drift, for retraining needs, and critically, have all that documented automatically.
And it's not just the US moving on this. Globally, the EMA, the European Medicines Agency, they're also moving fast. They've got the draft Annex 22, which specifically outlines expectations for AI in manufacturing and quality systems. Plus, for the bigger picture strategy, we now have ISO IEC 42001.2023. This is the first international management system standard specifically for AI governance. The rules are taking shape fast. So leaders who adopt a structured framework like A4C now, they're positioning themselves for a real competitive advantage basically immediately.
It really shifts the mindset. Leadership now means blending that innovation speed with rock-solid assurance, using that A4C framework to get past that awful 60% failure rate we talked about.
Okay, let's dive into the framework itself then. Starting with the foundation, the first A, ALIGN. This seems to be where you connect that big, ambitious AI vision like, we want to predict patient outcomes, with the hard GxP reality. We absolutely must validate that prediction.
Exactly. This is the strategic piece. You're translating broad business goals into very specific validated AI outcomes.
Yeah.
A key action here, creating an AI governance charter. Think of this as like the constitution for all your AI projects.
A constitution.
Okay.
But one that has teeth, presumably.
Yeah.
How does this charter go beyond just, standard corporate policy documents?
Good question. It has teeth because it explicitly links every single use case, whether it's for predictive maintenance on a machine or automated analysis of lab images, to specific regulatory clauses, things like 21 CFR Part 11 for electronic records or Annex 11 for computerized systems in Europe. It also defines the acceptable use boundaries right up front. Which tasks can AI handle completely on its own, and which absolutely require human review and sign-off. And critically, you have to establish an AI quality council. This needs to be co-led by AT or R&D and quality assurance.QA. This group's job is to break down that traditional friction, between the tech teams building stuff and the compliance teams checking stuff. It ensures traceability is baked into the design from the start, not just reviewed weeks or months later at the end.
Okay, so strategy-aligned council form. That brings us to the next stage. Activate. This sounds like it's all about empowering the teams, getting them moving, but making sure those compliance guardrails are firmly in place. The hurdle here, I imagine, is often fear, right? Data science teams might be terrified of accidentally breaking a rule they don't fully get.
Precisely. That fear can paralyze innovation. So the leadership imperative in Activate is this. Innovation must be encouraged, yes. But every single experiment has to automatically leave a compliance footprint. We solve this practically through, really, 3 key actions. First, you deploy validated AI sandboxes. Now, these aren't just any old virtual machines. They're controlled development environments where every data access, every model tweak, every prompt used is automatically audit logged and versioned. Think of it like a super clean lab bench where the regulatory inspector is kind of always watching quietly in the background.
That instant silent logging, that must save teams an incredible amount of pain later when they have to pull together validation documents.
It does, massively, which leads to the second action. Automate the documentation. Model documentation specifically. You need systems that capture and version all the inputs, the data sets used, the outputs generated immediately. Manual documentation. It's the enemy of speed and accuracy here.
But wait, validated sandboxes? That sounds like extra overhead? How do you sell that to a data science team that just wants to iterate fast?
Because that initial overhead prevents the 60% stall rate. That's the sell. By making compliance the default setting, you actually move faster overall, significantly faster. The time you save during the final validation review alone is enormous because the evidence package is already, say, 80% complete just from working in the sandbox. And the third piece of Activate is crucial. It's the people. You need targeted AI literacy programs. These have to address 3 key personas specifically. Developers need training on validation requirements, on explainability. Quality professionals, they need to know how to interpret model evidence and risk assessments. And executives need clear governance structures. They need risk appetite metrics they can understand. You build this culture in places like AI Day workshops, showcasing compliant prototypes, rewarding that behavior.
Right, so the foundation's built, teams are trained, working in compliant sandboxes. Now we're ready to scale up. The next stage is AMPIC-LIFY, scaling the proven, validated AI solutions. The core idea here sounds really powerful. What's validated once should never be revalidated from scratch.
This is a huge mental shift for the GxP world, which, let's face it, has traditionally been very waterfall. Change one tiny thing and boom, you restart the entire validation process. To amplify efficiently, leaders absolutely must create a validated AI repository.
Okay, a repository, what actually goes in there? Is it just the model code?
No, much more than that. It's the whole system of proof. It holds the reusable models themselves, yes, but also the validated test scripts used to check them. And crucially, the official validation summary reports the VSRs. That's the formal regulatory paperwork confirming the system is fit for its intended use. And the real game changer within AMP-LIFY is this concept of compliance inheritance. Think about it like this. In the past, if you, say, change the tires on a validated car, QA might demand you revalidate the entire engine. Seems crazy, right? Compliance inheritance says. If you retrain an existing, already validated model, maybe you update the data it's trained on, but the core design, the architecture remains the same, then you can reuse the prior validation evidence, the existing VSRs, because the core system remains proven within defined parameters.
That's actually a crucial insight. It totally reframes compliance. It's not just a cost center anymore, it's a reusable asset.
Absolutely. And the metrics here become vital. Leaders need to track things like the percentage of AI assets reused without full revalidation. That directly translates into reduction in manual documentation time, reduction in validation cycle time. It proves the business value of the framework.
Fantastic. So we've amplified the proven solutions using this repository and inheritance idea. Now we hit the next A, accelerate. Moving from pilot to full production, but without losing that crucial control. Our sources are really clear here. Speed can't come from cutting corners. It has to be built on validation automation.
Correct. The tech approach here gets pretty sophisticated. You have to embed continuous and intelligent validation systems. These are essentially automated checks built right into your deployment pipeline. They track every configuration change, every update, and they automatically assess the potential impact of that change from a GxP perspective, ensuring you maintain a constant state of validated control. Another critical piece for acceleration is maintaining digital twins of your validation environments. Think of this like running a full dress rehearsal in a safe space. Before you push an update or a patch to your live, say, manufacturing system, you test it thoroughly in an identical, isolated, parallel mirror environment, the digital twin. This ensures all the regulatory boxes are ticked, nothing breaks unexpectedly, and traceability is locked down before it ever touches the real production system.
So it's preventative compliance, really, not just reactive.
Exactly. And finally, to really accelerate safely, you integrate compliance APIs. These APIs connect your core regulated workflow systems like LIMS, your laboratory information management systems, or MES, your manufacturing execution systems, the systems managing critical lab data and production steps. You connect those directly with the AI systems. This enables real-time traceability, real-time data flow, and basically instant audit readiness for those connections.
Which brings us perfectly to the final and ongoing stage. Come AE Play Y. This isn't like a final step you finish. It's about building trust through continuous integrity. Compliance is a living discipline, something that never really stops.
That's exactly right. The fundamental shift here is moving away from reactive audit readiness. You know, that frantic scramble where teams spend weeks digging up documents every time an auditor shows up. You move from that to proactive, always on, instant transparency. And to get that instant auditability, you need to implement continuous data integrity and monitoring. This means enforcing things like immutability and strict versioning for all data the AI model relies on. If a critical data source changes, you know instantly, automatically, it's flagged.
And what about the why? Auditors always want to know why the AI made a particular decision, especially a critical one, like flagging a batch for potential failure.
Right. That's where you mandate the use of AI explainability dashboards for every single production model. These dashboards aren't static reports. They're live, linked directly to the system. They automatically record the rationale, the full data lineage, the specific confidence score for every significant decision the AI makes. So if an auditor asks, why did the AI do that? Well, the answer's right there, instantly available, not buried deep in server logs somewhere requiring weeks to find. And this all gets wrapped up nicely by automating compliance reporting, generating things like monthly AI integrity dashboards. The outcome, audit readiness transforms. It goes from being this huge, stressful, multi-week fire drill to basically just sharing a link to the live compliance dashboard.
So we've walked through the entire A4C framework: align, activate, amplify, accelerate, comply. What does this whole journey really mean for someone stepping up as a true GxP AI leader? How do they stand out?
Well, a true GxP AI leader sees things differently. They don't view compliance as just a hurdle, a constraint to work around. They genuinely treat it as a competitive advantage, something that de-risks their business and builds trust. They treat validation not as a one-time gate you pass through, but as a living process, continuous. And maybe, most importantly, they build teams that are engineered to think in systems of proof, not just systems focused on performance metrics alone.
It really is the synthesis of those two worlds we started with. Success isn't just measured by algorithmic accuracy or how efficient the process is anymore. It's measured equally by auditable reproducibility and regulatory confidence. That's the mindset shift needed to make AI truly scalable and sustainable in these high-stakes GxP environments.
And, you know, if you are leading an AI initiative or involved in one in a GxP environment right now, this whole framework, it can really be distilled down into 3 core diagnostic questions. We'd encourage you listening to maybe use these right now, just mentally, to gauge your own readiness. First, traceability. Can I, right now, trace every single significant AI-driven decision back to a specific data set, a specific model version, and its official validation record, instantly? Second, accountability. Are there clearly named owners and approvers, both technical folks and quality folks, for every single stage of our AI lifecycle, from the initial idea all the way through to eventual retirement? And third, auditability. Can we actually demonstrate our compliance posture, our system integrity effectively in real time? Or does it still take weeks of frantic evidence hunting when the auditors call?
If you can honestly answer yes to those 3, well, then you're likely well on your way to successfully navigating this A4C framework. You're avoiding that 60% failure trap. The ultimate lesson from this deep dive seems pretty clear, then.
I think so. AI doesn't replace human judgment, if anything. It demands more human integrity. GxP AI leaders, they don't just build models that predict outcomes. They build systems that ensure auditable trust consistently at scale. So maybe go explore, what does that concept of trusted AI really mean for your specific processes starting today?